All right, let's do it live on a Reaction Monday edition of the program. Merely Bo, broadcasting live here from gray, cold Cleveland. Z and Gibbe, sun-kissed in Beverly Hills. And that might be about all of the positives, gentlemen.
Yeah, unfortunately so. For the Cleveland Browns, it was a very tough game yesterday.
Wait, hold on a second. You have Look, we got plenty of time to discuss the negatives. There's a lot of negative stuff. We got injuries.
Well, I felt like that was a setup that was leading into negatives. You were like,
no.
Yeah, great, but there's nothing else
I
good
wanted
going
you
on.
to
So I was like,
bask.
all right.
I want you to bask in your glory of sun. I want look at Gibbe. Gibbe's probably what do you have? Oh, I thought maybe he already had a
Gibbe's
can.
Gibbe's in a trolley house golf outing T-shirt and some beautiful orange shorts. It looks great.
Does he have? Is there already some sort of a Southern California, maybe a Sierra Nevada pale ale?
A pale? No, not yet. This is a business trip, Bishop. We're businessmen.
Right. Yeah. What do you got? Dinner at Mr. Chow tonight?
No,
actually.
It's right down the road. It's right down the road. You just walk right from where you are.
We're going to go take in Monday Night Football and break bread with our good friend Chris Rose.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's nice. That'll be a nice time. That'll be good.
It'll be a lovely time.
So you guys flew.
Sure.
You guys went right out of the game to L.A., and you've been you guys are at, where are you guys at? You're at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Is that right?
The Beverly Hilton.
Yeah. The Beverly Hills Hilton.
You're in one of those. You're in the Beverly Hills Hotel, like one of those places where stars go to disappear.
That's right.
Yeah, that's where
right.
you are.
We haven't encountered any of them yet.
You will.
I know one of our players this morning ran into Mike Tyson.
Yeah, Mahmoud Diabate ran into Iron Mike on a walk today.
Feel like that'd be one you'd be excited to run into, hoping that you had a positive interaction. Yeah, you'd want to make sure that
I'm bringing him right up here to this my room.
Yeah,
you don't want that to be a negative interaction.
No. You want that to go really well. Is how you want. And if it goes really well, the ceiling's very, very high.
I don't know why it happened. You mentioned how your For You on Instagram knows you well. Mine does very well also.
Yeah.
It did pop up, though, for some reason, flipping through Reels this morning. Mike Tyson's first fight after he was released from prison.
Pete McNeely, Hurricane Peter McNeely.
The tomato can.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So there was
I saw two. So I saw that one, and then one he fought. I didn't get the name, but it was over in maybe 9 seconds.
Yeah.
He just came in with a flurry, and it was just like
boom,
boom, boom. The guy's head was like a bobblehead, just and it was over.
I have one bit of good news from back here, and then we'll get into all the stuff that's tough. We have a new chair.
Really?
Wow. Really? They came in?
Do we have new chairs?
Let's semantics.
Or do we have a new chair?
I said we have a new chair.
One singular.
Correct. And I would tell you,
it's good
it feels great. Some solid lumbar support here.
Love that.
Look
Gotta
at this.
have the lumbar.
Look at this. I feel like I'm
running God.
I'm at the seat of the Millennium Falcon. I mean, this is.
Oh my goodness.
This is spectacular. This is really living.
You're making the Kessel run in 12 parsecs.
Easy 12 parsecs. I can also update you that the old chairs are still here. They are in what I call the chair graveyard, otherwise known as our studio.
I like that we're building that.
We're building a chair graveyard here in the studio.
Those are left for certain people.
Well,
when they come
there's
in,
four
so
of them. To be fair, there's four.
The current.
Yeah, I don't know. You're gonna. You luckily you have two Stevies, and they're gonna have to move chairs in and out, I guess. But
actually,
we do just have the one.
If it's lower to the ground, if it's lower to the ground and not up as high, it's still a relatively comfortable chair. Like maybe one of the Jacob Squares would want that.
That's up to them. It's up to them.
But
I can tell you that
by the way,
one I'm in is nice.
Where's chair number 2? Where's chair number 2? It's my question.
I'll show you on the Zoom. So what
it's
you're
baby
looking
steps.
at.
I mean, that's a Butte.
You got a high back.
It's a Butte, Clark.
But it's just the singular chair. That's it. So.
Well, that's all we need right now.
Yeah, but hopefully by next Monday. When are you guys coming back? In January? How long are you gone?
Oh.
We'll be back probably around 3:30 in the morning on Monday.
That sounds about right.
I feel like you guys have been gone all season. You were at the Greenbrier for 6 weeks, and you're in Philly for a week and a half, and now you're in L.A.
Our wives feel the same way.
Boy, do they.
Yeah, where are you guys? Meantime, yucking it up poolside at the Beverly Hills Hotel. That's
Not
very good.
tomorrow.
My father-in-law,
Not
not
tomorrow.
tomorrow. We're not allowed. The inmates are
tomorrow.
not allowed at the pool tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, my father-in-law is like, he randomly calls and goes, "Hey, how's your vacation going?"
That's right.
I'm like, "Who told you I was on?" He goes, "Your wife.
That's right.
She calls every road trip you go on. It's a vacation." And I'm like, "This is not a vacation."
Yes,
Not
this one
in
might
the
be.
least.
This one might be.
Zagur,
I love you
Zagura's
both. I know how
attire
hard
that
you
I'm
both
going to
work.
post here on Twitter might allude to otherwise.
Yeah.
But like Monday and Tuesday, there's a chance to catch your breath.
Yes.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
Over.
yeah.
Listen,
business.
let me just tell you this. You're doing the same job you did here. You're just doing it in paradise. You're doing it in one of the most desirable zip codes on the planet. So, yes,
That's fair.
you're working.
It's actually warm.
So it's not true vacation, but it's just like if a pure joy mid-June day here. Except that's where you are
It
permanently.
is, except I don't have my bed, home, family.
All of
line.
those things are replaceable. Let me ask you this.
Apparently, you didn't watch the in-season Miami Dolphins episode of Hard Knocks because
No, I did not.
they gave a whole speech about that basically you need to play every play like somebody has taken your family and they're running down the street with them, and if you don't go pursue them and get them and save your family, they're gone.
I have not seen that yet. No, I will. I like
you watched it on the plane last
I did,
night, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually really good. Tyreek Hill's really entertaining and likable and catches every pass that's thrown his way, which is something we need to have rub off on our current pass catchers.
All right, we got to do this, right? Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do
It's
it.
29-12. It goes in the books.
That's
I think the lead here is not the result, but rather the injuries. And I think when you were headed out there, and we'll get to the result and we'll nitpick and what happened here
Sure.
and why'd we do this, blah, blah, blah. But the bigger thing here is you said you and I did the show Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving, we're at the food bank, and we said you got to be 8-5 coming out of this thing. That's it.
Yep.
You got to split these two games. So that's if you want to be a playoff team, you had to split these two games. These are two very, very winnable games at Denver and then against the Rams. The Rams looked great, by the way, yesterday. So that's the job. So we'll get to all of that. But where are we? You guys have been around the team. Where are we? And I know we won't know anything until 4 o'clock with Coach. But we had monstrous scares. We have people here are in full panic, and I think they have a right to be. You got DTR, you got Amari, you got Elliott, and you got Miles in a sling. So
Yep.
what is going on with the MASH unit?
What you said is accurate. We will not know the answers until later, but I do think there has to be some concern about Myles Garrett's availability. And if you were going to put a poster together at the beginning of this season,
Yep.
and you could only have 4 Cleveland Browns on it, my guess is that poster would have included Deshaun Watson,
Yep.
Nick Chubb,
Yep.
Denzel Ward, and Myles Garrett. We know for sure we'll be taking on the Los Angeles Rams without 3 of them. It is likely, or not likely, it is possible that we could be taking on the LA Rams without all 4 of them. And if we were to go to 5 people, probably Amari gets on there. Now, his x-rays were negative, so that's the one that you're the most optimistic about. But, I mean, it's wild, brother. I mean, you think about, you start 11 people on offense. You're going into the season, of those 11, the most important, Deshaun, second most important, Nick Chubb, and then your 2 tackles, they're gone. Now, Jed Wills will come back at some point, but you've been decimated. And now it's starting to add up on the defensive side of the football as well, with Denzel being out. And by the way, I thought that played a massive role in this game, Denzel Ward being out against the Denver Broncos.
No kidding. Yeah.
You're really, without Myles, now Obo's played well and Zadarius, all these guys played well, but Myles is the best player in the NFL and on the defensive side of the ball. And so that obviously would be a major, major loss. I know he'll be out there if it's at all possible for him to do so, but we'll have to wait and see there. But the injuries were a big story, and,
Can I?
This is 3 straight.
I realize I've been doing a lot. I mean, I'm being pulled in 1,000. Ward is out. That's official.
Ward was out this past week.
No. But like,
And for the Rams, no. I'm saying it feels like that is certainly within play.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I thought maybe that had already been ruled, and I'm like, I know that
No,
I'm got a lot going on, but I didn't think I missed that.
No.
All right. So
if I said that, I misspoke.
No.
You hope that he's back, obviously, because they can sling the pill around. But
Yeah.
I think it's possible that he could be out again as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was.
It's not like he was. It didn't sound like he was close to playing in this particular game.
No,
against
it did
Denver.
not. It did not. So, despite all of that, you then have what happens on the field.
Yeah. So here's number one. The last 3 road trips we've been on: Seattle,
Yep.
Baltimore,
Yep.
and Denver.
Mm-hmm.
They all have something in common, unfortunately, which is that the Browns were behind 14-0 in all 3 of those football games. That is not a good model for winning in the National Football League. Now, I would argue that from the time the Browns were down 14-0 to the time that they scored and had a chance to tie the game when Amari dropped the 2-point conversion, the Browns actually dominated the game, and DTR, it felt like, came into his own. Started making some big-time throws, some big-time plays, and we were starting to cook. And I felt like we actually had the momentum. Dropping the 2-point conversion was a momentum killer. We'll get to the reverse in a second, but then DTR gets knocked out after kind of a series of errors, right? Dewan's got to get his knee brace off. James Hudson comes in to play right tackle. False start, turns 3rd and 7 to 3rd and 12, but also on that drive on first down, Chief dropped one that, had he caught, he might still be running.
Yep.
So, number one, you cannot expect to win in the NFL spotting your opponent 14 points and losing the turnover battle. We talked about it going into this one. You had to protect the ball. That's what the Broncos' MO had been, and we turned it over 3 times. Now, the first one on the quarterback sneak with Harrison Bryant where they botched the exchange, it was 4th down anyway, but we got to be cleaner on that. We also had, before that, we had a chance where it was, I think we got a bad spot. I thought Cedric Tillman got the first down anyway. Nonetheless, you had Posick with the penalty for moving the ball. It was just out of the sloppy. It almost felt like, from watching it in the booth, that the Browns kind of just came out sleepwalking a little bit, and I thought, expected they were just going to show up and, roll the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I think that's the way it seemed on TV. Yeah, I mean it was strange. The approach was interesting to me. The obviously from the you're chasing it a little bit, so it's a little bit deceiving because 13 of the pass attempts are from PJ Walker, and at that point you're in full chase. But 42 attempts, DTR 14 of 29 when he was in the game. You mentioned the drops. There obviously were several again in that.
DTR should be a 70% passer.
Yeah, if people catch the ball.
I mean, it's wild the amount of drops that are happening in critical situations. Amari, typically sure-handed, drop that 2-point conversion. He catches that 99 out of 100 times.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like they're all, because we didn't have this with Deshaun. And is there something about the way there's no excuse, but is there something of the way the ball comes out of his hands that is making it difficult for them to pick up? This is a real issue now with Chief. I mean, it's 2 games. And he usually catches everything.
He was playing at UCLA and completed 70% of his passes.
I'm just trying to make sense of it because we didn't have drops like this.
Non-pros.
We didn't have drops like this before, and now we've had 2 games he started. We've had all these drops.
It's wild, and then it kind of even continued even when PJ Walker was out there. It was a very strange thing. I think for the Browns, the number one thing is you can't spot teams. You got to take care of the football, and until they do that, it's going to be difficult. Of course, the injuries are making it hard. I was actually very encouraged by that game with what I saw from Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Now,
me too.
He gets knocked out. PJ comes in, and we're going to talk about it, the reverse. I think this is Kevin Stefanski felt, okay, we're going to have to try to manufacture some stuff here. Let's give our fastest guy, Pierre Strong, a chance on the edge. We've been a very good reverse team this year. If you think about some of the plays with Marquise Goodwin, even Cedric Tillman last week had a nice run. And I think they were trying to manufacture some offense because as it became abundantly clear, the idea that you were just going to win with P.J. Walker from the pocket, I mean, you could tell. Sacks, he got sacked 3 times. DTR got sacked once. He fumbled it a couple of times. DTR did not. DTR actually played a clean game for his part of it. I think they were trying to manufacture something. Do you want a guy who hasn't touched the ball yet? Touching it, that's his first touch, and perhaps not because it didn't work well. But if you really watch the playback, the reason that was blown up was because the big nose tackle, DJ Jones, sniffed that out. And so you can even see Pierre Strong took his eyes off the ball.
Yeah.
So he was worried about Jones decking him. And so the play was not going to work anyway. That was the nail in the coffin. Then they come down, they score, and that was it. But you had a good stretch in this game where you played the way you needed to play to go on the road and beat that team. You put up 12 unanswered points. DTR led you on 3 straight scoring
I thought we were going to
drives,
win.
a couple of field goals. I thought we were going to win at that point, too. Amari dropping to 2, though, felt to me, and I think I said this to Gibbe in the booth time, it felt to me like old Browns games where you'd score a big one and then you'd miss the extra point, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And now we did overcome that in Baltimore. We did not overcome it today, and it felt like that was a little bit of a turning point. But we definitely had some momentum and let it get away. And this team, because of the injuries, because of the fact that you're playing without so many of your principal people, at the most important position, certainly on the offensive side of the ball, the margin for error is very small. Self-inflicted wounds. You think about the opening scoring drive. It's a 30-plus yard pass interference penalty on Greg Newsome that leads directly to their touchdown. And then a blown coverage on that same drive for 31 yards. You think about the second drive. We had a couple of penalties that extended that drive as well. We can't be doing that kind of stuff.
No.
After a game where we had 1 penalty, we had, I think, 8 in this one. It just was sloppy. It was not crisp, and it was not good ball. And, go back to Denzel, it felt like when they saw Cortland Sutton, and I'm curious kind of if there were discussions to have, MJ Emerson follow Sutton or not, because size-wise that makes a lot of sense, right? 6'3", 6'4", you have the two of them.
Yeah.
Because it felt like whenever they saw one-on-one with Greg and Sutton, they're like, we're just throwing it up. And we got very lucky on that offensive pass interference penalty because I'm not sure that was offensive pass interference.
Yeah.
And it got an unbelievable job to get his feet in. But you missed Denzel there. And so when you're missing all these critical pieces and you are trying to get yourself back into a game where to win a tough one on the road at a very tough place to play against a very competent football team where Russ has done a very good job kind of managing things. And, boy, he looked like old Russ in terms of his ability to extend plays. The final numbers weren't great.
No, they're
he
deceiving,
ran it a
though.
lot.
The numbers are deceiving with him, don't you think?
Yeah, because the plays he made were big.
Critical. Yeah.
And kind of like Minshew, you're not expecting him to come in and run so much, and they use that read option to great effectiveness against us.
I almost felt like they paid very close attention to what Indy did against our defense.
I thought it was a combination of Indy and Baltimore.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah, they ran Russ way more than they ran him previously, and the ones that he got were critical. They were huge, extending the plays. You're right. His stat line would not think that he was anything special, but he was very, very good in the game when it mattered most. I think one of the things that, I probably, without question, I saw the most criticism from, and honestly, it was overwhelming on the broadcast. Mark Sanchez he did not stop. Like it was, was critical the whole time, they were baffled by the lack of us trying to run it. They thought that they could not believe that Dorian Thompson-Robinson was throwing as much as he did. It was something that I saw on social, people being critical of that as well.
Sure.
Jerome Ford just gets 9 carries for 65 yards. It's 7.2 a clip in the game.
Yep.
One of them was for 19. And I do think if there is a criticism to be had of the approach, which was weird because I thought Kevin's approach against Pittsburgh was perfect. Like understanding the circumstances and understanding what your defense would do. It was almost like in this one he thought he needed to score more, and the way to do that was through the air. And it probably, if you had it back, you probably would have wanted a little bit more than 16 carries out of your running back room.
Yeah, I think part of that becomes game flow as the game goes on. But, yeah, I think that's fair. I think that I'll go back to it. I thought DTR played really well in this game. I really did. I thought he settled down after the early going and started to play really well. And I'll tell you what, who looked good? Cedric Tillman looked really good. And all of a sudden he's going. And how crazy, though, DTR comes out, and all of a sudden it's like Cedric Tillman is not there. But we had, when you look at it as an offense, you get stopped at midfield on your second drive. And then, unfortunately, you have a quick 3-and-out. Second quarter, you go field goal. which was obviously good. You get another field goal right before the end of the first half, and then you score. You had 3 straight scoring drives where you were starting to really move the ball and do some good things on offense. You had 13 plays, 57 yards, 11 plays, 67, and 13 plays, 79. Like, those are 3 drives of consequence. So clearly there was a feeling out period, but we really only had a couple of drives where we were down, unfortunately, down 14-0 in this game. And part of that, defense not getting off the field to give up 9 plays, 80 yards, and a 13-play, 80-yard drive. We don't do that very often.
No.
And you're down, but I thought the mix was fine. I think the reverse, obviously, is one you want to have back. But it's so funny to me, I didn't hear a single person say on 4th down near the goal line that I can't believe we threw it, because it worked.
Right.
Because we threw it, and it was a touchdown. And nobody was like, oh, that was a great call. I thought it was a great call. But you don't hear the praise for the good as much as the criticism of the negative. And when you lose in the NFL, that's what you do.
No.
The notion that we're going to go on the road and beat hot teams without most of our main guys, it is hard to do. No excuses, and we didn't play the way we needed to win under those auspices. Plain as day.
Yeah, I think
bad ball.
The other thing, I mean, you'd see people complaining about the Harrison Bryant. He fumbled the snap on the one. It was like, that's worked every time.
That's been our best play.
That play works every time. And then, yes, one time it didn't. But, the idea of, that's overthinking it. No, that's worked every time we put Harrison Bryant under center. It's worked. We have variations off it, including one that scored a touchdown with Kareem. So,
yes.
I mean, you have to have the full context of all of it. And I just feel like there is such a lack. It's like there's only one note that knows how to be played, and it's to complain. And yes, this is a disappointing loss. You mentioned getting behind. You mentioned the turnover game. Obviously, we've talked about the reverse. We've talked about this and that. Maybe we'd like to have run it more, so forth, so on. The reality is as you led off this entire thing, that's the overwhelming point. Look who you are playing without. Look who you are playing without. This is the league, man. Do you know how hard it is week to week? How brutal it is? Yes, there was an opportunity to go 8-3, but you're playing a very hot team who, by the way, had beaten Kansas City recently. Buffalo recently. They've found their way. And they are not the walking wounded that we are. Not close.
No, the only person they were without was a suspended Kareem Jackson, and they were without their tight end Greg Dulcich, who was not a big part of their offense to begin with. It would be like if they were without Russ, all of their backs. By the way, Samaje Perine, it's like when he plays the Browns, he becomes
he's a different
animal.
He does.
It's insane. He carries people, runs through people. But no, and it's not an excuse. It is the league. Unfortunately, there are teams dealing with similar situations. But
nothing like this.
If we're going to win in those situations, we have to play a very particular brand of ball. And I think you can't get out to a slow start, which we did. You think about Pittsburgh. We got out to the fast start. We're up 10-0. We're able to end up winning that game. You got to get out to fast starts. You can't get out to slow starts. You can't turn the football over. And you can't have back-breaking, drive-extending penalties.
No.
I thought that was really one of the stories of the game. And then it's money situations, right? They're 6 of 14 on third down, which against us is a great number. And if you think about early in the game, they were 4 for 5. So did we clamp down? Yes. But we were already down 14. We were just 2 of 13 on third down. So that's where you're at. You were not the team that you needed to be in this game to be able to win. 8 penalties, 3 turnovers.
Every metric that matters to most, third down percentage, red zone efficiency, turnovers, we lost every one of those.
That's right.
They won everything in that regard. So, that's how it goes, man. And then when you factor in where we were from a quarterback standpoint by the time it was done, I mean, tough. But that's the league, and that's where you'll go from here. This press conference that Kevin has at 4:00 is going to be a fascinating one, and I think everyone is going to be on pins and needles waiting to hear what is said, because this injury report's crazy.
It is. We got to see, this team's going to have to rally around each other somehow. They're going to have to try to find a way to get, back into the winning mentality and kind of overcome, more obstacles. Unfortunately, there have been setbacks the entire game. and the entire season, and you're just going to have to deal with it. But, yeah, that's a big press conference. Now, we haven't even talked about the elephant in the room, which is, and I'll say it again, I was very encouraged by DTR. The play that he made on third down to Amari, where they had a free runner and he throws it floating back, throws the out before Amari had broken, that leads. That's what got that drive going to get us the touchdown.
Yep.
That's a big-time play and a big-time arm. He did a lot of really encouraging things. If you're a Browns fan, the main takeaway from this one, other than all the negatives that we talked about, should be that this was an encouraging performance from DTR over in the middle portion of that game.
Couldn't
Very
agree more.
encouraging.
Yeah.
Now, the question becomes, with him in the concussion protocol after he took an absolutely big hit, is there a chance that he could play this weekend? And now you say, could he be ready by Sunday? Potentially. But DTR started 3 games. Like, he's not a guy that you roll out if he can't practice all week.
No. But then there's the other part.
Part 2 is the following. P.J. Walker, thank him and love him for everything he's given this team this year, but it is clear that you cannot win with him. So that leaves us with the question, and this will probably be a big part of this press conference, is if DTR is not able to get practice on Wednesday, which I think would be likely, knowing what we know about the concussion protocol, is Joe Flacco starting for the Cleveland Browns this Sunday against the Los Angeles Rams?
I can't see a scenario where it's anything other than that.
I would have to agree with you.
You know what I mean?
By the way, we talked about stats. You were talking about the drop rate. Just real quick, this came up from my good friend Cleve TA posted this. DTR as a quarterback leads the NFL with a 12.1% drop rate from his receivers. That means 1 of every 8 passes that he's throwing on target are being dropped.
Jeez.
P.J. Walker, 2nd in the NFL in the same stat. Deshaun Watson, 9th in the NFL in the same stat. The Browns, as a team, number 1. They have dropped 9.5% of all on-target passes this year. That is first in the league by a mile. Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Can't have it.
Like, watching that Hard Knocks thing, again, it blew my mind. Tyreek Hill's a small guy, small hands. He catches everything, running at unbelievable speeds, and now Tua does put the ball in a good spot a lot of time, but catches absolutely everything. We can't have this.
No.
We cannot have this. And clearly it's not just a DTR thing.
No.
It's our pass catcher thing.
Yeah.
And they've got to figure it out.
Yeah, quickly. All right, some more takeaways from this one. We had some big news in the NFL as well. Take a look at the playoff picture. We will visit with the Hoff coming up at 2 o'clock. We are off and running. Those were the hot topics presented by Vivid Seats, official fan experience partner of your Cleveland Browns. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Pet Supplies Plus gives you a chance to win tickets to home games all season long while providing the best deals for your pet at over 75 stores throughout Ohio. Enter to win tickets at clevelandbrowns.com/Pet Supplies Plus. Receive a coupon to use at your local Pet Supplies Plus with your entry. Pet Supplies Plus is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Look at that sun. Look at the sun hitting the kid. Just gorgeous. Gleaming off of Gibby. Oh, they're down.
Got to fill.
The kids are down. We lost connection. There you go. They're down. All right, so we'll attempt to get the boys back. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Uno. This is what I think this is. I see their setup. They're at a hotel in Beverly Hills. They're not at the Beverly Hills Hotel. That's probably $3,000 a night. That's where the bungalows are. But they are at a hotel in Beverly Hills. The sun is out. Who really wants to talk about this anyway? Who wants to commiserate?
No
one wants to do this. They're probably a couple of drivers from LA Country Club. Who gets hurt? All of a sudden, oh no, we can't connect. We have no ability to do the show. Who's going to do the show? Well, there's a guy who does a show in the morning by himself. Why can't he do this? Can't do this? Do this show too. That's what I think. I think they're going to play golf.
And then go to a break, and then we'll get them back up.
Nick, I don't even believe you. You can tell the audience what you told me. Nick's suggesting that we'll get him back up.
Down right now, but
we don't believe
quick
this
segment here. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
Nick, you don't believe him. I don't believe him. They're in Southern California. They're going to play golf. They're done. They felt like they've done the heavy lifting. That's where they're at. They've done the heavy lifting.
I used to live out in San Diego, Bo. It is gorgeous. It's just 100 miles away. It's fantastic where they're at.
Yeah, I mean, I was married out there. Yeah, I mean, this is a big ruse to get out of doing this program. They know that we got the Hoff coming up at 2, so once they get there, they can walk anyway. That's what's going on right now. I promise you, that's what's going on. I will get you a couple of the news in the NFL, and it's big. Carolina has fired head coach Frank Reich after a 1-10 start. It's a pretty stunning thing. It's the fastest a coach has ever been fired. You got to go back forever to find one that was fired sooner. It is, however, the third straight season where we have seen a head coach fired during the season. Urban in Jacksonville.
For him, it's his second straight year.
Yeah, but it wasn't his right with Indy, but he had been at Indy before. Like this is he's just started. So it was Urban 2 years ago with Jacksonville. It was Nathaniel Hackett last year in Denver, and now Frank Reich in Carolina. This all stems around the quarterback decision and the way that was handled. David Tepper, the owner of Carolina, wanted Bryce Young. The reporting that I've read this morning was that Frank Reich and his group wanted C.J. Stroud. They went Bryce Young, and there's vitriol and animosity between all of that. So we do have our first coaching casualty in terms of a guy who's been on the job not even a year. All right, we are going to take a quick timeout. We'll see with the guys back on. I can tell you Cleveland Browns Daily, we're broadcasting live at Buffalo Wild Wings in Brooklyn next Tuesday. That's December 5th from 1 to 3. Kevin Mack will join, sign some autographs. That's from 2 to 3. Visit the Cleveland Browns Facebook page to learn more on that. We will attempt to reconnect with the fellas, that is if they even want to. Also take a look at the playoff picture, among other things, coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Bo here for my team at Renew Home Exteriors, now introducing new Ascend composite clad siding featuring a beautiful deep green look in 20 available colors. Keep that just installed look for a lifetime with this low maintenance siding. Plus, with Renew's price match guarantee, you can be assured you receive the best price for your exterior project even after you buy it. Renew Home Exteriors, superior products and superior service. Visit them at renewestimate.com. You're back. I thought for sure you'd bounce.
I know. My mom, the official
Nana.
Nana texted me. She said that Bo thinks you're gone. No, I'm not gone. Right here with you.
Well, I said,
ready to go.
I couldn't even blame you. Like, if there was some sort of a technical roadblock that could not be overcome, there are worse things. We have commiserated. We've talked about all the stuff that sucked, and
some of the positives. And we talked about some of the positives. I maybe have a few more positives if people want.
Go, give it to them now. This town's very receptive to positives. Go ahead.
JOK. Jeremiah Usu-Koramoah is having an unbelievable season. Near the league lead in tackles for loss. Picked up another sack yesterday. Probably had 3 tackles for loss when it was all said and done in that one.
He's a stud.
JOK. That's something to get excited about. What he has become here in his 3rd season for the Cleveland Browns has been a real playmaker, a force behind the line of scrimmage, in the backfield, doing everything that he needs to do. I thought JOK was very, very good in this one.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a couple of things. It's 3rd year in the league. That's a big part of it. Another big part of it is Dalvin Tomlinson, right? And what you're doing in the middle, and you're letting him free. The offensive line isn't able to get their hands on him, and so he's able to knife in and make plays. Anthony Walkerback's been a big part of that as well. I think the other thing that's really cool is the combination of JOK and Delpit. Like, you've got some real playmakers in that back end now.
Yes.
That wreak havoc. Like, these aren't just guys holding positions. Like, they create negative plays, big change plays for you.
No, you're exactly right. JOK yesterday, 12 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, and a forced fumble. You had Delpit had another tackle for loss. He's been the team's leading tackler all season long. So, yeah, you're exactly right. These guys, those two, and they play next to each other a lot because Delpit has really been kind of a box safety and kind of playing linebacker in many respects for the Cleveland Browns and has been doing an excellent job of it. I thought overall, that was one of the encouraging things. And the defense, other than the early portion of the game, they didn't do great there, but I thought for the most part they played pretty well as that game went on. And I got to tell you, Zadarius Smith, it's unbelievable to me that he only has 2.5 sacks. He's touched the quarterback, I feel like 20 times this year. He was all around Russell Wilson in this one.
Yeah, he was. And it's been that way all year for him.
Yep.
You just were waiting. You're just terrified about Miles is the other. I didn't mean to go back to negative town, but that's
no.
As you were talking about pass rush and dynamic and all of those things, like that's terrifying to see him in a sling, and we'll see what the news is on that front. You mentioned Cedric Tillman earlier. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence he's on with us on Wednesday before Turkey Day, and then breaks out, dude. Breaks out. He's a stud, man.
Yeah.
Great build,
yes.
Great body,
yes.
Incredibly strong hands. The ability to catch the ball and hold it away from traffic and have the confidence to do so tells you how strong your hands are. I thought he was a stud. And is going to be.
5 targets, 4 catches for 55 yards. You've seen what he can do as a blocker. I liked getting him incorporated into this passing game a little bit more. And, yeah, he made great plays. And obviously, look, DTR's comfortable with him.
Yeah.
And DTR threw some very good balls to him. And even the one in the end zone where Elijah – you can't have 2 people competing for the same ball in the back pylon. That's not how good offense
No, I said that. I'm pretty sure somebody ran the wrong route on that.
Well, Elijah was just supposed to run just like a little hitch at the front end line, but he saw the ball and must have thought that he had a chance to go get it. So he went there, but it was set up for the slot fade to Tillman, who actually would have had a chance on that ball, I think, had it all gone according to plan. But, no, I like Cedric. Yes, encouraging from DTR offensively. DTR was very encouraging. I think Jerome Ford runs so well. Kareem runs so hard, but you just are – that play is going to come to an end fairly quickly, right? Like there isn't the threat that he's going to take one to the house. Jerome Ford certainly has that, and so does Pierre Strong. Now, Pierre Strong's kind of been – I liked what I saw of him, and I feel like he's been kind of completely phased out of the offense. You give him one chance on a reverse, and, that was a devastating play for the Cleveland Browns. But, Ford continues to impress me. I thought DTR really, from like the second and third quarters, was so good on those 3 drives, making big throws. Tillman was encouraging as well. But it just goes back to the drops, man. Like, we have got to catch the football. Like, it's hard enough to score in the NFL. It's hard enough to get scheme guys open and then have the protection and then deliver the football on time and accurately. For plays like that to not end up as successful plays for the Cleveland Browns and instead to end up as drops, that has got to be fixed. I don't know what the solution is, because it almost feels like it's one of those things that becomes maybe even more of a mental issue than even a physical one.
I was just going to say that. There was a Chief drop, the one in the end zone. It would have been a tough catch.
Oh, man.
But he high-pointed it. He got both hands on it. The ball's perfect.
Yeah.
He's got both hands on it. Like, that's one you have to catch. And it was able to get nudged out, and it ends up being a drop. And Chief looked down, God bless him, and he looked at his gloves. And I thought, okay, so we've got a mental thing now with Chief now the last 2 games where he's thinking about this. And this can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody. But it's right now he's in it where he's got a little bit of the dropsies and if there's anybody you trust to get out of it, it's him for sure. But there's no question that it's there, and it is something that has to be acknowledged.
No doubt. That's where you are, and it's right. We're not going to be able to do what we want while this remains an issue for us throwing the football.
All right, where did you eat dinner Saturday night? There was a lot of talk about some giant bison prime rib place, and then there was what did you end up doing?
We ended up going on Shelby Harris's recommendation. He gave the word to the luminaries, and so I was able to tag along with the luminaries, and we went to a place called Guard and Grace, and it was one of the best meals. It might be the best road trip meal I've ever had. It was that good. It was unbelievable.
I found that if there is something, if a restaurant has like 2 names like that. So you said this was Guard and Grace was the name of this place.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So there's a couple of them. Troy Guard's the owner. Denver and Houston are the 2 locations for this one, for this place.
Yep.
But like the what was the place in Minnesota I loved? The Butcher and the Boar.
You could go back there in Houston then.
Oh, baby.
Run it back.
Yeah.
Little December 23rd. I'll have to let the people know.
Oh, this is a very nice menu. It's a very nice menu. Just taking a look at it right now.
And this was one of the few times
big
where
charcuterie choices here. A lot going on there.
Oh, yeah.
Big app.
Yeah, the prosciutto tasting.
You like that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me guess. You had the cowboy ribeye, didn't you? Or did you do did they have a big guy?
So they have an even bigger guy that comes with
the bone-in. Did you do the tomahawk?
It was no, I did not. Are you looking at the price?
It's not on the menu.
Oh,
I would say the tomahawk ribeye's got to be $129.
The cowboy's like $129 or $130. The tomahawk ribeye was like $195.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
What did you get?
Yeah. I actually got. So they kindly said, "Why don't you handle apps for the table?" Which, a group of like 15 people.
Okay.
I was thriving there.
Yeah, you love that, like picking that out.
I loved it. They had A5 Wagyu gyoza.
Yeah, I see it.
Which were awesome. Little hamachi jalapeno. They have a spicy tuna sushi roll that was incredible over like a stick of crispy rice, and it was looked like the shape of an eclair. And there were a bunch of little ones. That was awesome. We got the burrata. We got the prosciutto sampler, and then a bunch of oysters. It was delicious. And then for the dinner they had a trio of 4-ounce fillets.
Oh, I see it.
Grass-fed, prime, and Wagyu.
I believe they call it a filet flight.
That's right. It was a filet. Yeah,
it was good. Baby. That's decadence. But you're not on vacation.
It was good.
Hey, AFC playoff
that was
picture.
in Denver, dude. It was snowing.
Just wait until the tails of this week. with your rich per diem that you're going to have every night to eat whatever you want. Let's do the AFC playoff picture, if you would.
I hear Wendy's is delicious,
especially in Southern California.
That's right.
All right, Ravens are currently the 1 seed. The Chiefs are the 2, Jacksonville the 3, Dolphins the 4, Steelers the 5. We're the 6. The Colts are the 7. The 3 teams behind. So the last 3, the 3 wild cards are Steelers, us, and Colts. The 3 behind them are the Texans, the Broncos, and the Bills. The Bills' heartbreak yesterday. It's hard for me to imagine they won't win some game. They played really well, and blew it yesterday in the game. You got a firsthand look at the Broncos, and the Texans are rolling. I mean, they almost did it against Jacksonville at home. This is going to be ultra competitive. It does feel a little bit like, especially with our injury situation in Pittsburgh, just their actual situation, there's some smoke and mirror stuff that's happened to this point in the season to get to where we are, and there's going to need more of it.
Yes, we are. And the Steelers' schedule, have you looked at it?
I don't even want to think about it.
Can I tell you? Because it's going to make you.
All right, go ahead. Let's go.
You justifiably upset.
Go ahead.
Home Cardinals.
Come on, Kyler.
Home Patriots.
Oh, my God.
At Colts. Now, Colts could give them some problems. Home Bengals.
Oh, jeez. They got Bengals twice without Burrow.
Yep. At Seattle, at Baltimore. So if they're at 7, they're going to win 3 of those. Cardinals, Patriots, Bengals, all at home. They're going to win all 3 of those.
Well, they're definitely.
Bengals could have beaten them. Browning threw that terrible red zone pick, horrific red zone pick.
Yeah, I said when we were doing the scores last week, and I'm like, I don't understand how the Patriots are favored by 3 over anybody, and then they lost to the Giants.
It was another good week. It was a good week in the scores.
I think I'm 11-4, aren't you?
You were really good.
Aren't you right in there?
Yeah.
We got to be right in there. Just killing it. You're welcome.
I'm like 1 off of you because I went with my heart against the AFC North instead of my brain.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to – Kyler could be frisky for them just because they're so bad offensively, Pittsburgh is. The Patriots, that's a bye. Bengals second game, and that'll be a bye at home. Yeah, they're going to win 10 games. I don't know how he does it. This guy's a sorcerer. Fired offensive coordinator. I don't know I don't understand it. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
What they do.
The Tomlin voodoo is outrageous.
Yeah, it really is. NFC looks like this. Eagles at 10-1, 49ers are 8-3, Lions 8-3. The Falcons are top the South at 5-6, for God's sake. And then the Cowboys 8-3, Vikings 6-5, Seahawks 6-5. Packers 5-6, Rams 5-6. Those last 2, watch out for the Packers, as they look pretty good. And Jordan Love coming into his own.
He's playing nice.
Yeah, it really is.
Nice ball.
And the Rams really put it on the Cardinals yesterday.
Yeah, Stafford looked great. Kyron Williams came back for those in the fantasy world. That was like getting Marshall Faulk back yesterday.
My
they
NBC
hammered him.
NBC learned a very tough lesson yesterday. Heart versus head. So he has Kyron Williams.
Yes.
And they don't have IR, right? He doesn't have IR. So he's just had to keep him on the roster. And I said, just hold him.
Yes.
So he did. So he gets the news he's coming back, and he's got to make a decision his decision was between Jerome Ford and Kyron Williams. And he goes, Dad, the Broncos had the worst rush defense in the league. Jerome's going to go. And I said, it's fair reasoning, son. I can't argue. I understand it. But the guy was a dude before he got hurt.
Dude.
Kyron
Williams was a top 5 fantasy back, and he comes back and puts up 203 total yards and 2 touchdowns, catches 6 balls. That's what he does that Jerome doesn't
Head versus
do.
heart,
Jerome's got to catch the ball a little bit better. Yeah, you got to go. Fantasy football is not for the heart.
No, you can't be.
You've got the rooting interest already. Fantasy football is for the head.
Yep, you got to sort that out. He's going to win anyway, though, so it didn't kill him. But
good.
So that's positive.
But, now he knows Kyron is a lock.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Remember,
he's the one who drafted Aaron Rodgers and ended up with Jordan Love and Kyler. So it's all worked out okay.
He's doing just fine.
Yeah, he's doing just fine in this whole thing. But I tell you, the back end, there's separation that's happened now in the league. In the AFC, the separation has happened. Us and the Steelers are hanging on for dear life with all of our injuries and their sorcery. And then in the NFC, I mean, the 4 at the top are separate. and then it's a cliff. And of those NFC teams, like, how sustainable is it for Minnesota? To me, Green Bay is the team I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Of the 5 and 6, 6 and 5 teams in the NFC, I'll keep my eye on Green Bay.
Yeah, I really like what they're doing, and I'm with you. I think Love is good. The NFC South is garbage. None of them are teams of consequence at all. The Rams are all of a sudden frisky. This is a big game. Like,
Huge.
we're not. It's unfortunate for us that we keep catching teams that we thought maybe were going to be out of it by the time we played them that are somehow right on the cusp when we do play them again.
Well, and there's going to be more of that with our schedule. So we've got Rams this week. You still have to play the Texans. You got to play the Jaguars. You got to play Baltimore. Like, at one point you looked at this schedule and you thought, okay, well, you can kind of cruise going home, but it's not that way at all. This is going to get really frisky.
We need to win 3 more games. And you've got the Bears, Jets, and Bengals are probably the easiest 3 left on the schedule now, unless Aaron Rodgers is going to defy modern medicine and come back for no reason at all.
If he does that, if he defies, then he did not rupture his Achilles.
I would agree with that.
Then that's it. I'm not going to have it any other way.
But they're going to be, by the time they get to us, they're currently 4-7. They go home Falcons. They could beat them. Home Texans, at Dolphins before they play us. They're going to lose at least 2 of those games.
Yes, I would agree. Tito's Handmade Vodka on game day. Pour me in, Coach. Find cocktail recipes for every fan at titosvodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly. The Joe Thomas half hour of the program coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans, Express Beer, presented by Bud Light, brings the same facial authentication technology using Express access to beer purchases in the stadium. Dedicated Express Beer stands are the fastest way to get a beer in Cleveland Browns Stadium. If you're 21 or over, go to the Tickets tab in the Browns mobile app to learn more. Time now for the Joe Thomas half hour of the program. So we've got a third of our team is in paradise in Beverly Hills at some five-star resort. Another third of our operation is back here in the frozen tundra. And then we have the other third, the Hoff third of the operation, in some palatial estate, as I understand it, in Mexico. Hoff, what are you doing right now? Feet up, relaxing?
Feet up. I am relaxing with just a small amount of stress, though, because we were supposed to come home yesterday, and there was some major flight delays and problems. So we're stuck here till Tuesday. All I could find was, the Fleabag Motel Vallarta. So that's where we're staying, but I tell you what, it's 80 degrees. The sun's kind of shining. I'm still eating great Mexican food and drinking cheap Mexican beer, so all is not lost in spite of the flight delays.
Hoff, is there an industry in the world worse than the airlines industry right now? There is no such thing as on-time flights. It doesn't exist. I can't believe you got
crazy. Yesterday. Oh, man, yesterday there's like 3 flights that were leaving Puerto Vallarta, and we had like 4 hours to catch our flight from Dallas to Madison. And the first message in the morning is your flight's delayed 30 minutes. Then like an hour later, your flight's been delayed an hour. An hour later, your flight's now delayed 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And it just kept happening for like 4 hours in a row where they just kept delaying it. And basically, I turned to my wife, Annie, and I was like, this just means they have no idea when the plane is coming. It hasn't left. And they're just trying to make it hopeful enough where you don't totally rebook and then screw up somebody else's flight that, you're bumping the next group of people off.
Hoff, no Paradise Village? They didn't want to welcome you back with open arms?
Well, they would have, but the price was precipitously more expensive. Especially since my sister and her family and everyone left. So there's no way we were filling out a 7-bedroom with just my family of 6. I said, you know what? Bite the bullet. We'll spend a little bit more on margaritas and Lagosinas and
baby,
beautiful margaritas. So save money on the room, spend it on the food and the drink.
I like it.
Genius. Hoff, what was the best thing you guys ate? We'd heard about the Thanksgiving spread before coming out of it. Was that the highlight? What was kind of the highlight? Because I got to tell you, I love to see people that I love having pure joy, and it felt like you were just living your absolute best life, and I couldn't agree with you more. You don't let the kids beat you until they beat you. They've got to earn that. That's got to be real, and I love that you kept dropping the hammer with clutch moments.
Well, that's right. That's right. So there was tons of amazing food options. Like when you're in Puerto Vallarta, you're on the Banderas Bay, so you just have an incredible amount of seafood, which is kind of my jam. So tons of lobster, tons of shrimp. They're known for their ceviche. So we did like a seafood tower ceviche, which had everything you can imagine: oysters, scallops, shrimp, lobster, mahi-mahi, fresh onions and carrots and tomatoes and cilantro and corn. Like, it was just all so incredible. But it's kind of funny. The thing that sticks out in my head a little bit, because I'd never eaten it before, was this rice pudding that they made. And they had a different name for it. It was kind of one of their local desserts. It was like sweetened condensed milk, and they must have put some cream and some other other creamy, delicious sweetness in there. And then with the rice that they kind of slow cooked and reduced it, there was a really nice frozen-ish treat after one of the dinners. It was something that I hadn't had, so it was great. But Z, next time you go down here, you got to go to El Dorado. I don't know if you've been there before.
Oh, of course, yes.
It's a little bit down from Cafe de Artis. We took the kids there last night. It was right on the beach. It was beautiful. They had these big, beautiful lanterns spread out on the beach.
We eat there every year. That's like, oh, yeah, baby. Right on the water. Yes.
Right on the water. Oh, it was fantastic. I'd never eaten there, and we just kind of because it was amazing. So if anybody gets down there, Cafe de Artis, still have yet to go, but that's Need's favorite place.
We're going to do it.
And this El Dorado, amazing. But I'm going to maybe save Cafe de Artis till we get to go down there together.
Oh, baby. That'll be elite.
Hey, guys, before we get to our game, the news of the day in the NFL, Frank Reich fired. This is the third straight year that an NFL coach has been fired in the middle of his season. That was something that of his first season, something that rarely ever happened before in the league. There's some Browns on Browns crime here. Josh McCown was fired as well in this. He was the quarterback coach. Deuce Staley has no connection here, obviously, but he was fired as well. Chris Tabor, who was our special teams coordinator from 11 to 17, will be the interim head coach in Carolina. What do you make of that situation?
So I think Tabor, first of all, is going to do a great job. Everybody that was here in Cleveland with him realizes that he's so good at motivating the whole team, right? He's a higher energy guy. He sees the big picture, which is what you kind of have to be a good special teams coach. You got to be able to coach guys on offense. You got to be able to coach the guys on defense. And then, of course, you got your core special teamers guys. And so I think a lot of times that makes special teams coaches very well fit to be head coaches because they're used to coaching everybody, and they're used to having to motivate the bottom 20 guys on the roster. So I think he's going to do a good job as an interim coach. Whether he becomes a serious candidate to be the head coach, I'm not sure. I mean, I think, to my knowledge, John Harbaugh is the only special teams guy that's a head coach in the NFL. But I think this just goes to show that maybe David Tepper has no idea what he's doing. I mean, by all accounts, they wanted Bryce Young, and they basically forced it on Frank Reich, who throughout his entire career likes more of a big, tall, strong, pocket-passing quarterback, a la C.J. Stroud. Yep. And that was kind of the word before the draft that he wanted C.J. Stroud. He didn't get him. He's the head coach, but, of course, it's his job to coach him up. And so the only thing that I can think of is that they knew that he didn't want C.J. Stroud. He said, I'll coach him up. And then they saw early on the results were poor. And, of course, if the owner wanted Bryce Young and the coach that he hired is not getting what he thinks out of Bryce Young should be gotten out of said quarterback, he's going to wipe him clean, whether it's his fault or not. And spells bad news continued, and even worse bad news for Panthers fans when you have an ownership or an owner who's meddling and clearly has no idea what it takes to build a successful NFL franchise.
Hoff, Josh McCown was such a great guy when he was here, and obviously I was just surprised by that. I thought Reich, it was going to happen. I could see how Staley, when you watch some of the videos with him and his style, I could see that rankling some feathers, but I don't know anybody's ever had a bad word to say about Josh McCown. He understands the game very well. I was surprised by that. Were you surprised by that addition, even though maybe he was one who was saying, I want Stroud, and that caused the odds, I guess.
There you go.
I was stunned by that. I'm stunned by that.
Yeah, it's shocking to me. I think potentially everybody knew that Frank Reich and Josh were super tight buddies. But, I mean, let's think about what type of respect Josh McCown has in the NFL. I mean, he was getting legit head coaching offers for the Houston Texans when he wasn't even a coach in the NFL. Like, people were saying, this guy has what it takes. He's got enough experience playing and coaching just while he was on different rosters that he could step right in and be a head coach. So I think the reason he got fired is because he was so intimately tied to Frank Reich, and they know that maybe it would be potentially toxic having him in there knowing that, he's a Frank Reich guy. But I think that also doesn't give Josh the credit as a professional that he deserves, knowing that he can still do his job really well, even if his guy did get fired. I mean, to me, that's kind of BS, but maybe that just speaks to the people that are pulling the strings just having no idea how to manage the people that are in that building.
Well, remember McCown with Stroud at the Pro Day? When they were all together,
like hugging him, embracing him.
For sure. CJ was a ridiculous basketball player. Josh is, as you guys have told me many, many times. Like, there's a ton of bond between there, and I think this just comes down to, like, why isn't my guy look the way that guy looks? That's on you. Can't be on me. I can't possibly be wrong.
Yep.
I own the team. It can't be my fault. I know what I'm doing. You guys don't. And it's just that simple, really. And he's the one with the big bank account, so he can. It's his fourth coach, guys. It's his fourth coach with that team. All right, we've put it off long enough, Hoff. Loss in Denver yesterday. We led the show with this. I think the headline, as much as the result, Joe, to me, it's much more the injuries. And we'll have a big press conference from Kevin in Southern California at 4:00. But man, oh man, these are on pins and needles moments for Browns fans. You're talking about Miles and Amari and DTR and in conjunction with everything else.
Yeah, Kevin Stefanski deserves a lot of credit for holding this team together, finding ways to win after you lose Nick Chubb at the beginning of the season. You lose Jack Conklin. I mean, you're losing the cornerstones of your team week after week. And at some point, it's just impossible to continue to hold things together and look like an NFL team that can compete. I mean, the Broncos were one of the hotter teams in the AFC coming into this game, and you felt like they kept it pretty close. But when you get down to a third-ish string quarterback, because DTR gets knocked out of the game, you lose Amari. You lose guys even going into the game in the secondary that had been a big part of why that defense was number one in the NFL. And then, of course, Miles gets banged up, which everybody knows the conversation going into this game was he might be the MVP of the week. He's been so dominant this season. And it's just hard to continue to roll different guys out there. And you always say, that's the next man up mentality. We don't change our expectations when the second team guy comes in. But how about the third team guy? How about the fourth team guy that just got here? Like, at some point, it's just hard to continue to play good football when guys haven't been around very long and they're just not nearly as talented or impactful as the starter.
It's wild. And, I have people who are questioning this, questioning that. Like, I don't know if people understand what it would be like if the Chiefs were without Travis Kelce and Pat Mahomes. What would that offense look like? What did the Rams look like just when Stafford was out with Brett Rippon? Ended up getting him out of the league. It's a very tough thing. That's not to make excuses. I thought, though, Hoff, from the second quarter through when DTR got knocked out, I really thought Kevin Stefanski had it cooking. We go on 3 straight scoring drives, all of them about 60 to 80 yards. DTR makes some big-time throws. He had it working. I was encouraged by that stretch of the game. We can't keep falling behind 14-0 on the road, but were you encouraged by that, and what did you see in DTR once he started getting it going?
Yeah, what I liked about DTR is you saw that when he's been playing with the lead or when the game is really close, obviously he realizes how good his defense is, so he doesn't want to make those mistakes. So he's not pushing the ball down the field. He's not taking some of those risks. That all of a sudden, now you're a couple scores behind, you feel like, okay, I got to do something to get us back in this game. So your mindset switches a little bit where now if the number one read is Amari down the field, you're going to let it rip, even though there's maybe not a big window. And we saw that happening, and we saw that he was having some success with it, right? And that gave us a lot of hope, and what I think could be really big is if that built a little confidence in DTR, like, hey, I can make those throws down the field, even when it is a close game or even when I am winning, because I am the type of quarterback that can win the game, not just the type of quarterback who will not lose it because he's got a great defense. And so to me, that was really encouraging. I agree, Z.
Hoff, is there I mean, he's in the protocol now. You got Flacco here. If you're Stefanski, is there a drop dead date in terms of if DTR isn't a full practice participant by here, we've got to go with Flacco?
I would say Friday usually is that day because that's the day where you review everything. And a guy, especially a young player like DTR, like he has to have that Friday because, one, you have red zone, which is your most important situation in the game. And Browns have not been great with DTR in the red zone. 2, you're going back over all your checks for the week in normal down and distance. So if you have a lot of check with me's, if you have a lot of situations where if this is a 1 high safety versus a 2 high safety, I want you to check into this look. And getting that rep doing those things where you're communicating not only with your center so he can communicate to the offensive lineman, but to the guys on the outside who need to understand, hey, what's the play? How does that change my responsibility? Do I have to push crack the safety or am I running a look slant now where if it's there, we'll take it because there's a gap when the defense does that? I think a younger player who doesn't have a lot of experience, they have to have that day because if they don't have that day, there's no way they can go out and have any level of success in any game plan type things. And really all you're going to be doing is calling like a game you would see in the preseason, which is why he struggled when he had to step in for Deshaun against the Ravens.
Yep.
He needs that time, right? I mean, like Joe Flacco's a guy, he's seen enough stuff that he can get those mental reps and close his eyes, and it's just as good as doing it with your arm. But DTR's got to have it by Friday, I would think, and, even more you'd want him obviously probably Thursday. But it's tough when you're dealing with a concussion.
It is tough, and I think that's a very daunting situation that's facing the Cleveland Browns right now, right? Because I think you might have to go to Joe Flacco here, who just joined your team a week ago. You think about all the guys that, it's like a throwback. Kareem Hunt comes in after a few weeks. Joe Flacco now is going to play for the Browns potentially, which would be insane to even think about. But that's where this team is right now. And I'll tell you, though, it doesn't really matter who the quarterback is. If we can't catch the ball, Hoff, we're dropping almost 10% of our passes that are on target. They're dropping 12% of DTRs. What's going on? How do we fix this?
Yeah, the pass drop things are always a real mystery to me, and I don't know if there is any magic bullet there other than it seems like they come in bunches. I don't know why. Maybe it's a confidence thing. Maybe it's one of those things where you see it happen to other guys and you tighten up a little bit and it starts happening to you. I mean, Njoku throughout his career has had drops, but all of a sudden he has the big week last week where he dropped a bunch, and then he drops a couple this time. Now they become like cancer, right? Like everybody's catching them like it's some type of disease. You got a guy like Amari Cooper who never drops passes, right? Drops the 2-point conversion in the back of the end zone. So I don't know. I mean, the only thing that I could say definitively is that, hey, maybe there's a reset. And that reset could be a different quarterback come in there like a Flacco who's more of a down-the-field, deep ball guy than a dink-and-dunk guy like a P.J. Walker or a DTR. And just having sometimes those more difficult down-the-field throws, guys stop thinking about catching the ball and it becomes natural again, right? How many times do you see Njoku make the spectacular catch, but the easy ones are the hard ones, right? You have too much time. It's too easy. Think about the catch versus thinking about the contact and where your feet are, falling out of bounds, or, just doing things instinctually. So I don't know if that's what you want to say, yeah, let's go with Flacco just because of this, but that could be one of the unforeseen benefits if Flacco does play in that game.
Joe, you've been in this situation quite a bit in your career, unfortunately, where a guy comes in, he's been in the operation for a couple of weeks, and he's got to start a game. If it is Flacco Sunday, what is reasonable to expect, and what are the biggest challenges for a guy coming into a situation like he could be coming into on Sunday?
I think the biggest challenge is not necessarily the offense, because a guy like him who's played in a couple different places and has a ton of experience is going to have seen most of the concepts that he's got to run, right? So it's pretty easy, right? Like, they're going to pick the offense up quickly. If the language and the terminology is much different, you can always give them a wristband. And then it's just almost like having Google Translate on your arm. Like, okay, I know what that play is. That's, the sticky slant, that reminds me of, school bus or something like that. I think the challenge is going to be meshing with your different pass catchers, because everybody's going to run out just a little bit differently, but also everybody wants the ball in different places. Maybe David Njoku likes him a little bit higher in the back line when he's running some of the back line routes in the red zone. Maybe Amari Cooper, he likes it low and outside, even when he's a little bit on top of a receiver when he's running a go route on the sideline. Maybe one of the other receivers likes something a little bit low and away because that's where he feels more comfortable. And so I think getting that stuff and hitting in practice is a little bit difficult because you just don't have enough time and enough reps to be able to get that. And so you're going to hopefully on Friday, after you go through all the game plan, have the quarterback sit down with those guys and say, all right, here's the routes we're definitely going to get, right? Here's the opening 15 plays. Here's the next 15 concepts that we think we're going to see on third down, right? Because in the game plan script, the coach is going to write down, all right, our third and 5+ pass routes, here's the top ones we like. And then they're going to talk about, okay, this is the coverage we expect to get. You're my number one guy, Amari, on this one. How do you like this ball if you get this coverage, if you get cover two, right? And so you're going to try to go through as many of those things as possible, but still there's just a little bit of a learning curve. Even a guy with experience like Joe, it really helps having those legit reps in practice to feel exactly what those guys want out of you as the quarterback.
Could be incredible. I thought this would be a year where the Browns had one starting quarterback, could potentially have 4 by week 12 of the 2023 season. Right now they're trying to chase how many play-by-play guys I've worked with. How many quarterbacks could the Browns get? How many play-by-play guys have I worked
What's
with
the greater
year?
number?
Right now it's play-by-play. We're at 6 for the season, right now. And I don't know if we can get to 6 different starting quarterbacks by the end of the year. We don't want to do that. Hoff, Miles, now the talk, maybe he's got a shoulder injury. It was in a sling after the game, and you saw some of the videos where Garrett Bowles was able to kind of get him, and he couldn't fight back with that left arm. I feel like We know it's not good to be a one-legged person in a butt-kicking contest. Is it tough to be a pass rusher with one functional arm if that's where we're at with Myles Garrett?
Of course. And if he's rushing over the left tackle, his left arm is his most important arm because that's the arm that's closest to the offensive tackle. And that's usually the arm where if you're going to give him a one-arm stab, kind of thing that looks like a stiff arm, that's the arm you're putting pressure on. If you're trying to dip and rip, that's the arm that's coming up underneath the offensive tackle's hands and pads where you're trying to lift them and pull yourself through. So really that's probably his most important arm when you're considering a right defensive end rushing over the left tackle. So depending on where that arm is, where the strength is, where the lack of strength is, I wouldn't be surprised if they moved him a little bit more on the right side next week if they felt like they could get him out there to play, just because he'll be a little bit more effective using that right arm. And the left arm isn't quite as important when you are rushing over the offense's right.
That's a good note. That's good. See, that's the good.
Yeah.
That's the Hoff stuff right there.
We're at our. I think
Don't
aren't we like it? We've paid our penalties right with the injury list.
Yes.
Like we need some good news on Myles here. Like I don't know. I'm not sure how much more of this we can take off. I mean, everybody.
Same.
It's just been too damn much. I mean, you can't have something happen to Myles here. It's just been. I just think beyond the fact that he's been maybe the best position player in football this year. I don't even know if that's a stretch to say that there's been anybody that's on his level. Beyond that, just the mental gut punch it would be if he misses time. Like, he's been the fuel. I don't know how you recover from that if it's him too, Joe.
Yeah, I don't really know if there's anybody else that you can say has been more impactful, even close, on this team that has kept us in every game. Because really, without him, your defense is good, but it's not great. Because being able to have that coverage and then allow that pass rush to get there, it's changed every single offense that we play against. Because even though they know that he's double teamed, they still only have 3 seconds to get rid of the football. So you can't call any of your stuff that's deep down the field unless you're just taking your quarterback and running him on a bootleg to the right away from Myles, which we saw that in the game. He still gets there, right? That play where Russell scrambles outside the pocket to the right. Myles is double teamed. Russell Wilson almost gets the first down as Myles is tackling him from behind. So he's really been the guy that has changed how an offense tries to attack a defense by how incredibly dominant he is, because one, you have to use two of your resources on every play, whether it's a guard and a tackle or a tight end and a tackle or a running back and a tackle. And it also shortens the amount of deep routes you can run. And so when he's not in there, you still have great secondary. Yeah, you still have guys that can get to the quarterback. But your defense changes, and the offenses all of a sudden get a lot more bold with the amount of deep throws that they can have on you. And eventually, if you're allowed to get 7 throws down the field, there's enough good quarterbacks and pass catchers in the NFL. They're going to hit a couple of those. And that's a lot of times all it takes. A couple explosive plays on offense, that could be 10 points. That could be 14 points right there. That's a huge difference in a game. I mean, the game wasn't all that close yesterday, but if the Browns get 2 big explosive plays, you win.
Yes, and go think about the Indy game. I mean, there it is. That's what this team is trying to do. Huff, did you ever do anything like this in your career? I know that I haven't done anything like this since I've been with the Browns, where we went for a week. Did you ever do anything like that?
No, we never did. The only time we did something a little different was a couple times playing on the West Coast. We would go out a day earlier to try to get acclimated to the time change and stuff like that. I didn't really think it had that much of a benefit, but being out there for a week, I don't know. I've never experienced it, so I'm not exactly sure. I think just like anything in the world, there's a placebo effect that if you as a team believe a lot of the things that your coach is telling you, and then he says, hey, guys, this is going to be a huge advantage for us staying out here during the week, you're going to believe it's true. And then, hey, there's no difference between you believing that something's going to help you and something actually helping you. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what the guys think of it after the game's over, and it'll probably be mostly dictated by, did they play well and did you win? Then it was a great idea. Yeah,
that's it. It's mentally, how do you, as a vet, and we have obviously a lot of vets on our team, is this like another kind of training camp vacation? How do you, I mean, you're so used to this routine of going home to your bed and you get in late at night and that's what you do. How would you deal with this? Someone of yourself who was such a routine man.
Yeah, I love routine. That's why, as much as I love still being in Mexico here for day 8, I'm like really excited to get home to a routine.
Right.
But I think that's just what happens as you get older, right? You just value having that routine. And I'm sure if you ask Joel, maybe he's like grumpy and like, whatever. I'd rather be at home where I could just go sleep in my own bed and get into my normal routine of the week. But I think that they'll quickly get into the routine of a normal-ish week being out in L.A., just having the normal schedule. Yeah, you're going to go back to a hotel, but I think by the second day, you'll be kind of like, hey, you know what? This isn't actually that bad because I can get home at night, and then I don't have any of the normal good distractions of being home with family and dealing with whatever things you have. Got to mow the lawn or, got to pay the painter or whatever else you get when you're at home. Got to go to the grocery store for the wifey, go get some more diapers for the kids, and just having a little bit extra time to chill out, lay in bed, watch TV, maybe play some cards with some buddies. So I think they'll find this interesting enough and it's unique enough that they'll probably appreciate it and enjoy it. I'm sure if you did it 3 or 4 times during the year, it would probably get old.
Huff, is there something to the notion that the Browns, beat the Ravens in dramatic fashion? You think you got Deshaun cooking 14-14. We're going to go win it all. Then Wednesday, he's out. The team gets up. You have this unbelievably emotional day at First Energy Stadium, or Cleveland Brown Stadium now, and you beat the Steelers. Do something you hadn't done ever. Beat the Ravens and Steelers back-to-back weeks. And then it's Thanksgiving, which I don't know if for the players it feels like an odd week, but for me, and Bo, I'm sure you felt this way too.
Yeah.
Tuesday, we're at the food bank. Thursday and Friday we weren't in the building at all. I felt kind of very disconnected from the team, and then you had to go on the road that week. I think it's definitely an advantage for teams to be at home during Thanksgiving week. You have to go on the road, and you did get off to a slow start. Now it would be if it was the only time we did, maybe there's more to it, but it felt to me from afar, not being in. So I'm asking you to take us kind of inside. What's it that week like, and are you able to prepare the same, especially if you're coming off of a couple of really emotional wins? And then having to go on the road on a holiday week.
Mm-hmm. There's no doubt that the season is exhausting, and every week has different challenges. Certainly the Thanksgiving week is unique, and it does have different challenges that the other weeks don't. For me, the usual schedule during Thanksgiving was everything was normal until the day of Thanksgiving, and then what you did is you'd come in an hour earlier. So instead of having to be at the facility at, let's say, 7, you had to be there at 6. And then you would do a normal day up until lunch, which basically meant you do everything you normally do until practice is over, which practice would now finish around lunchtime. And instead of sticking around and having your treatment, having your weightlifting, and then having your hour of team film review and meetings, you would just go home. So you were done by like 1-ish. So you could go home, you could do your Thanksgiving stuff, and then the next day you came in an hour earlier, and then you would review the film from the day before, and then you'd get your weightlifting, and then you'd just stay a little bit later on that Friday. So really you got everything in, but you just kind of moved it up on Thursday a little bit earlier, and then on Friday you just had to do a little bit more to make up for Thursday. So you still got all your work in. It did feel a little bit different, but I think one difference, and one thing I really liked about Thanksgiving versus like maybe Christmas during the season was because you are only getting half a day off. You're only getting Thursday afternoon off, and it's Thursday versus the weekend. You a lot of times don't have a lot of people that are coming in town to visit and celebrate like on a Thursday because people are still working, and a lot of times they want to come in for the game, so they'll come in maybe Saturday, Sunday to celebrate Thanksgiving. And so we a lot of times had Friendsgivings where I'd have the tight ends and the offensive linemen over to my house. And my wife loved to cook, and she could cook all day. And so you ended up getting to spend Thanksgiving a lot of times with your teammates, which was really cool because for most of the other holidays, you got friends and family in town for the game, and which is great. You get to spend it with them. But I think we really bonded over Thanksgiving probably more than any other holiday. And it didn't feel like the schedule was too disruptive to kind of mess things up, where you would feel like disjointed or unprepared compared to how you normally feel by the time game day started.
Huff, We said before this trip, you got to get one of these two, right? You got to get Denver, you got to get the Rams. You got to be 8-5. It's starting to get crowded at the bottom in the AFC. Must win. You can't put that on anything. We got a MASH unit here, but pretty critical. And it should be a home game, right? I mean, Browns fans in Southern California.
8-4, yeah.
I mean, there are going to be a ton of them in that game, right, Hoff?
Yeah, it should be kind of a home game there, which will definitely help. And I think that could really help. A lot of times when I go on the road and all of a sudden I see all these Browns fans in a normally expected hostile environment, it does give you a boost where you're like, heck yeah, man, we have these awesome fans. We're so excited to be out here cheering for these guys. Like a lot of times, especially guys on defense would find those little sections of Browns fans because it seems like there's sections. I don't know why that shakes out the way that does because of ticket sales and such, but they go over there before the game and throw the ball to them and they'd get them hyped up. And I think that gives you a little extra spunk and personality, pizzazz, energy going into those games. And just knowing, too, for the player's standpoint that you got all these injuries. You know, a lot of people are kind of counting you out. That can really motivate you. As a pro athlete, it's really easy to find that chip on your shoulder. I mean, that was the Patriots' best thing that they did every year, right? Every week was like, nobody believes in us. You know, as they're 14-0. Nobody believes in us. They think we stink. You know, that was like what motivated them every single week. And I think the Browns could find a little bit of that with all the injuries they have going on the road, but still having like a bunch of loyal fans that are going to be out there for the game and understanding how important this one is for the season.
Hoff, happy flight whenever you get out of there, buddy.
Yes.
Best of luck on your travels. Thank you for your time, sir.
Appreciate it, guys. We will talk to you later.
Hoff,
The
come
Hoff.
back. Come home.
He might just stay.
Come to L.A.
To heck with it. Stay.
It's a shorter flight from Puerto Vallarta.
Certainly. Yeah, quite a bit. If your game plan for this season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna has the answer, delivering a winning strategy for breaking down the game of real estate. The market leaders in Northeast Ohio. More buyers and sellers trust Howard Hanna to be their winning home team. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste Recycling, great place to start and build a career. Check out the latest opportunities to join the team that's working together to keep your community clean and green. Learn more at www.rumpke.com. It's wild what's happening in the NFL. We had a wild weekend of college football as well. The rivalry games certainly delivered drama, if not for most in the great state of Ohio, not necessarily a good Saturday afternoon. The boys were in tears. I mean, just a mess.
Yeah, so what's, I know that you are a man with a great many gigs and authority on a great many things. How was that handled today? How's everybody feeling here on this Monday?
Not well. You're talking about a 2-year period where everything revolves around that game because you lost it in 21 after a streak of winning it, 8 straight times. And so the idea that you would now be in a situation you've lost 3 in a row. And the other thing here from the Buckeyes' perspective is they will never have this opportunity again for a lot of reasons. So next year, if this game is played, they will play this week too. So you will play the game and then you'll play for the Big Ten championship the next week. So the idea of a winner-take-all the game, that ended Saturday. So you'll never have that again. These two teams next year, if they were to go into this game 11-0, they would both play next week in the Big Ten championship game. They would both then be among the 12 teams in the college football playoff. So the urgency to it is gone. So 119 years of history ended Saturday. It will be different. It will be less going forward. It's impossible to argue that it will not be changed for the worse in terms of the importance on that game. The other thing is for Harbaugh, it's like 3 wins in 1 because it validates what happened the last 2 years because there was no sign stealing here. Hell, he wasn't even on the sideline for this one.
He wasn't even there.
He wasn't even there. So it validates the fact that he has the preeminent program in the Big Ten. He's got the dominant program in the Big Ten, and they're going to play in the playoff for the 3rd straight year, and that's going to happen. So for Ryan Day, with a win, he would have invalidated the previous 2 losses. So that's the other part of it.
The stakes were massive.
It's the biggest the stakes
massive
have been.
Stakes.
Because of the off-field stuff. So there was, 1 versus 2 in 06. That was winner go to the national championship, loser doesn't. So that one had on-field stakes, but this one had a ton of layers to it.
Program stakes. This had program.
Yeah, and you could have buried Michigan because they've got 3 or 4 NCAA investigations that are happening on their campus. So if they had lost this game, and by the way, most people up there think Harbaugh's done after this year anyway. No matter what, he'll go to the NFL, and there will be a lot of opportunity for him to do so. So this was your last chance to bury Harbaugh, and you blew it. And quite frankly, they were outcoached. Michigan coached fearlessly. They did. Sharon Moore was unbelievable the way he coached that game, and Ryan Day coached pretty passive. It was stunning because the last thing you saw was the way they played against Georgia, and you thought, well, he had talked all offseason how that's how he was going to coach the Michigan game, and he didn't.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible to think that C.J. Stroud, who's going to be the Rookie of the Year in the NFL, and that Marvin Harrison, I believe I saw somebody with great insight and intelligence say that neither of them will have a pair of gold pants. That is crazy to me.
Yeah, they haven't. Well, yeah. I mean, that's obviously a brilliant person who brought that to the attention.
Big B.
Yeah, they used to, at the time, the end of Tressel and through Urban. I mean, they handed out gold pants like candy canes at Christmas. You get a gold pants. You get a gold pants. Yeah, you got 4. I remember talking to a former linebacker who played there on the 14 team, Joshua Perry, and I'm like, "Who's got your gold pants?" He's like, "My wife's got one. My mom's got 1 pair. My niece has a pair. Like everybody gets them, right?
Yeah,
like that's what it was like for the longest time.
It's like Oprah.
Yeah, right. The one thing I will say is, and this is the biggest difference, the end of Tressel and the beginning of Meyer. So there's like a 7 or 8 year period there where Michigan is not a serious program. I mean, it's Rich Rodriguez, it's Brady Hoke. They're running.
Yeah.
I mean, they just weren't serious. Harbaugh should have been broke. We thought he was broken in 16. Everybody thought he was broken in 18. He's got a real program now. Like they believe in him. Yep. It took him a while to get it right. He's a great coach. He wins everywhere he goes. And the Michigan team that Ryan Day is coaching against, it's a real program. It's a big-time top 5 program in the country. That's not what they were for half of Tressel and most of Urban.
Correct.
So he's competing with something that those guys didn't all the time.
Is it fair to say that most Buckeye fans, and I know because I've asked this question to Michigan fans and some Buckeye fans,
sure,
they've all said yes, but I'm curious if you think that is representative of a deep level of psychosis or if this is more representative of the broader fan base, that given that they went 11-1 this year, right? Is that where it's going to end up at? Something like that?
Yeah, they're 11-1 right now, yeah.
Okay, 11-1, and there are a lot of things that have to happen, but likely the end of their competitive season is here.
Yeah, I can go over quickly what needs to happen. They need Georgia to win out. They need Washington to win out. They obviously need Michigan to win out. They need Oklahoma State to beat Texas, and they need Louisville to beat Florida State. So if those things happen, they would be the fourth in the playoff.
Okay. Let's just say that you go 11-1 and don't make the playoff, and everybody asked that they would rather go 1-11 and have that win be in the big game if they're not making the playoff.
Right.
And go 11-1, lose the big game, and not make the playoff.
Yeah, it's that game. It just has, and that's what you just described is gone now because it won't matter. It'll matter, but you could play them again this week. Next year, they would run it right back, and they would play for the Big Ten championship at Indy. And then it's possible they could play for a third time because both of them would make the college football playoff. So that's juice of the game, a lot of it is going to get sucked out of it because of this new format where they're chasing all the money.
Yeah, you got that. No.
It sucks. That part of it sucks. All right, we've got a score for tonight. Before we do that, though, OBM, the preferred provider of copiers and documents to the Cleveland Browns. They'll tackle any size office at 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. We have Monday Night Football coming up. We'll get you a score. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, we got a little Monday Night Football. You guys are going to get the real treat, which is a 5 o'clock Monday Night Football kick. Football, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's heaven. It'll be pitch dark here in what amounts to about 90 minutes, and you guys are going to have suns out, guns out, 5 o'clock watching the game.
I don't know because it's dark here by, what, 5:30?
It gets dark pretty quick. Yeah, that's
you get a little 5:30 in there? All right, you got time.
Yeah.
The Vikings are 6th in the NFC playoff race going into tonight's game. The Vikings 6-5, playing host to the Chicago Bears. The Monsters.
1 minute.
The team of Bishop's Ute.
Loved them.
Bishop, lead us off.
I don't know. It's weird. I say
Is
I don't
Jefferson
know.
Playing?
No, I don't think so. I don't think Jefferson is. No. Uno says no.
No, because they have a bye week. Then next week they could rest.
So they would wrap him into that. Part of me wants to pick the Bears with Fields, but I'm going to go with Minnesota winning this one, 24-20.
Same. I need Fields to get me 17 points. Come on, Justin.
As long as they're all to DJ Moore, then we'll be fine. That's all we need.
Fine.
Give me a little bit of that, then you're fine.
Lots of selfish.
Yeah.
That's all good.
That's how, as we learned, as NBC learned this week, you got to be selfish. Boys, enjoy your spa afternoon. Are you guys going to hit the spa? Get a little good time there. Spend your time at the
Segura's
pool.
about to live his best life
He is about ready to live.
Could be one of the best moments
his all-time.
of his life, depending on how things shake out today.
His all-time best life right now. It's an all-timer. I can't wait to hear the details.
It's all downhill after today.
It really is.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
Tomorrow I'm restricted. Today
I'll go rent.
I'm
going to go rent a kiddie pool for us to sit in tomorrow.
Yeah, right here on your balcony.
On the balcony.
The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.